What happens when Trump goes on live TV to mock Obama's grades and Obama responds by pulling out Trump's actual SAT score from 1965? In 15 seconds, the stable genius myth didn't just crack, it detonated. One number, one document, one moment that made the entire crowd erupt as Trump's biggest secret finally went public. In the annals of American political theater, there are moments of debate, and then there are moments of total, unrecoverable destruction. What happens when a man who has spent decades boasting about his genius intellect and mocking the academic credentials of others is suddenly confronted with the one piece of paper he spent a lifetime trying to hide? The title of this story captures that historic, jaw-dropping collision. Trump mocked Obama's college grades. 15 seconds later, Obama read Trump's own transcript and the crowd roared. In a live television event that froze the nation, Donald Trump tried to humiliate his predecessor with a familiar, baseless attack. He never expected Barack Obama to reach into his jacket, pull out a certified document from 1965, and read a single number that would shatter the stable genius myth forever.
Michael Cohen testified that he threatened Trump's schools with legal action if they leaked the grades. We also know that Trump tried to make a scandal out of President Obama's school records. So how uncommon is it for a president not to release their scholastic data?
Well, scholastic data is not something that typically has to be released. Some people do release it. I've done stories about candidates who've released their transcripts.
The setting was a primetime presidential forum on education and excellence, broadcast live from a packed auditorium in Philadelphia. The air was thick with tension as President Donald Trump and former President Barack Obama sat opposite one another. For the first half hour, Trump had been in his element, aggressive, boisterous, and playing to the crowd. He grew visibly irritated when the moderator asked about the importance of academic rigor in leadership. Sensing an opening to attack, Trump leaned into his microphone, a sneer curling his lip. "You know," he began, pointing a finger at Obama, "we hear a lot about academic rigor from this guy, but I've always said, I'd love to see his transcripts. I heard they were terrible. I heard he was a terrible student who got into Harvard because of, well, we know why. I was a top student. I went to the Wharton School. I'm a very stable genius. But him, I bet he couldn't even pass a basic test."
Hey, I went to the Wharton School of Finance. I was a really good student.
I went to an Ivy League college. I was a nice student. I did very well. I'm a very intelligent person.
Everybody knows what a great school it is. Look, if I were a liberal Democrat, people would say I'm the super genius of all time.
The audience murmured, uncomfortable with the personal nature of the attack. Trump sat back, arms crossed, looking triumphant. He had just questioned Obama's intelligence on a national stage. But Barack Obama didn't flinch. He didn't get angry. He simply looked at Trump with a calm, almost pitying expression. "Donald," Obama said, his voice steady and clear, "you have spent years questioning my credentials. You've questioned my birth certificate, my grades, my very right to be here." He paused, reaching into the inner pocket of his suit jacket. The room went dead silent. "And you have always claimed to be the smartest person in the room. So in the spirit of transparency, I think it's time we cleared the air."
I'm a very intelligent person.
Because of my genius, okay?
I had no idea what was happening, and other great geniuses had no idea what was happening.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
I don't know what I said.
Obama pulled out a single folded sheet of aged yellowed paper. "This," he announced, "is a certified copy of your College Board SAT score report from 1965. It was unsealed this morning." Trump's face went from smug to ashen in a heartbeat. He lunged toward the microphone, shouting, "That's fake! You can't read that!" But it was too late. Obama put on his reading glasses and looked down at the document. "You claim to be a genius," Obama said, his voice ringing through the hall. "But let's look at the math." He read from the page. "Verbal reasoning, 48th percentile. Mathematical aptitude, 34th percentile." He looked up, locking eyes with a stunned Trump. "Total score, 970 out of 1,600. The crowd erupted. It wasn't just applause. It was a roar of shock and disbelief. A score of 970 was below the national average. The genius had scored lower than the average high school student. Obama waited for the roar to subside, then delivered the final blow. "You didn't get into Wharton because you were a genius, Donald. You got in because your father, Fred Trump, made a massive donation to the school 2 weeks before your acceptance letter arrived." The devastation was total. Trump sat frozen, his mouth opening and closing wordlessly. The myth he had built his entire life around, the myth of his superior intellect, had been dismantled in 15 seconds by a single piece of paper. He had mocked a Harvard law graduate, only to be exposed as a below-average student who bought his way in. As the crowd continued to roar, The cameras captured the look of pure, hollow panic in Trump's eyes. The game was over. The genius was a fraud, and the truth, hidden for 50 years, was finally out.